Hello, everyone that's joining our webinar. We are going to give it a couple of minutes and then we're going to get started. So if we can just be patient and wait for everyone to come in and then we'll start. Hello, for everyone that has just joined us. We are just waiting for everyone to join the webinar and then we're going to give it another minute and then we'll get started. Right, I think I'm going to make a start. So welcome everyone. This is our cyber simulation webinar, ransomware attack in the West Midlands. I am Marta Baskinan. I'm operations manager for Digital Care Hub, and I'm joined by Nicholas, who will be introducing himself shortly. So before we start, a few things to take into consideration. You're on mute. This is our webinar, so you're on mute. You can't be seen, so don't worry about that. Please use the Q&A function to ask questions. You'll find like a little button at the bottom of your screen. If you're on a phone, tap on the screen to see the controls, choose more, and then Q&A. So please, if you can, stick to the Q&A for questions instead of the chat, so that way we can keep track of it and we'll answer all of them at the end of the webinar. Questions that we can't answer will come back to you. So you can just add your email into the Q&A if that happens. The webinar will last no longer than 1 hour because we know everyone's really busy. And you will get access to the presentation and the recording. So this is being recorded as well. So what are we going to cover today? We're going to do some introductions from the Cyber Resilience Centre and see what they do and how they can support you as well. We're going to go through the Cyber Resilient Care project and why is cyber resilience important. And then we're going to work through our scenario. So this is a ransomware attack scenario where we're going to have interactive rounds and you're going to be able to choose the best option in each round. At the end, we look at the key takeaways from today's webinar, and then we'll answer all your questions in the Q&A. So without further ado, I will pass over to Nick to introduce himself and go over the West Midlands Cyber Resilience Centre.
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm Nick and I'm the Business Development Manager at the West Midlands Cyber Resilience Centre. We're a policing-led organisation with my manager being a serving police officer, and we are a not-for-profit organisation. WMCRC is one of 9 centres across the UK offering free government-backed guidance to small businesses, SMEs, supply chain and third sector organisations. We also have a national group which works with 26 academia across the UK to offer cyberpath services. Some of the services they provide are security awareness training and vulnerability assessments, which is delivered by our students on the Cyberpath programme and supervised by the national group. Next slide, please. So why cybercrime? Cybercrime is big business. It is estimated that the UK economy lost over £30 billion in 2023, and on average, a business suffers a cyber attack every 44 seconds. Information about people, stolen intellectual property, and other credentials can sell for more than the price of gold or oil. The government are treating cybercrime as a tier 1 threat to the UK, which is the same level as terrorism due to the impact on economy and national infrastructure. Next slide, please. The figures displayed here are from the Cybersecurity Breaches Survey the government carried out in 2023 and shows the percentages of organisations that have experienced cybercrime. It is worth noting that the figures only represents organisations that could actually tell if they had had a breach. In 2017, the NHS was hit with a ransomware attack called WannaCry. This is actually a screenshot of what staff saw when they tried to log on to their computers. It encrypted the files and caused massive disruption to the healthcare system, with appointments being cancelled and systems not being available to staff. The NHS wasn't actually the only organisation that was affected by the WannaCry virus. It actually went global, and they estimate it infected over 200,000 machines across the world. This is some information about the WannaCry attack. I'm not going to read it, so you're going to have the slides, but it's estimated that it cost the NHS nearly 100 million to restore data and systems. It is worth noting, though, it's not about the money, it's also about the disruption to people's lives. You think about the cancellation of appointments, operations, and people not having access to the healthcare system. So from the policing threat intelligence, phishing, business email compromise, supply chain attacks, and social media social engineering remain the top threats to organisation. But who actually commits these crimes? Well, bad actors can actually fall into different categories. You have individuals, small groups of people who are working for financial gains or to cause damage to companies and their websites for infrastructure, for credibility and notoriety. You also have hacktivists. These are often people who have a political motive. Think about Just Stop Oil. If they decided to carry out a cyber campaign, they may look to attack oil companies or companies who use oil products. Attacks can also happen from within. If you have disgruntled employees who have access to systems, they could look at damaging your company or targeting or actually taking data with them. Lastly, there are nation-state actors. These are groups or organizations who are employed by or affiliated with governments or regimes who are looking to steal information or take down critical infrastructures such as the NHS or the energy grid. So why do attacks happen? Well, phishing is the main way that cyber attacks happen. Action Fraud receive over 23,000 reports a month, and this number will only increase. However, when companies were asked about training, only 18% of their have 80% of the staff have security awareness training in place for their staff to detect things like phishing. So how can the WMCRC help your organization? Well, we offer a free core membership where we send out monthly newsletters which contains informative articles and guidance. Part of the core membership is having 30-minute meetings with a member of the team to chat about your organization's current cyber posture, and we can offer guidance and tools to help a company's cyber resilience. We also work with Cyber Essentials partners who can help an organization obtain Cyber Essentials and Cyber Essentials Plus. It's not a case of if, but when a cyber attack may occur, and organizations need to be able to understand the risk to make better decisions to help them withstand and recover from cyber attacks. It is everyone's responsibility, from the senior management team to the employees in the community, to play their part in cybersecurity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nick. So Nick is going to stick around and answer as well any questions we might have at the end. So thanks for that, Nick. So yes, don't hesitate to contact your regional cyber resilience center for any support. As you said, it's a free membership, so it's really good to take advantage of those free resources. So on to cyber resilient care. The cyber resilient care project that we're running is a small pilot at the moment. We're running webinars like this. We're running vulnerability assessments in partnership with the cyber resilience centers, and cyber workshops for care providers, specifically for the care sector. We're also launching a very exciting cyber game next week, and I will add it in your post-webinar email, so you can learn about it. You can sign up to our newsletter as well. But so why is cyber resilience important? Why does this matter? As Nicola said, cyber resilience is crucial. It's no longer a question of if. an attack happens, but when an attack happens. I think we've all seen a lot of like cyber attacks happening in our sector. Some of them have been very, very disruptive, and your ability to like withstand, respond, and recover under pressure could define your organization's survival. This is why in a ransomware attack scenario, it is already too late. So in our sector, we know that we already lack time, funding, people work under a lot of pressure. So when you add a cyber attack on top of all of this, the consequences can be disastrous, and it can take months or years for a business to recover from it if they recover. So obviously, ransomware attacks in the UK are growing, they're getting more sophisticated, increasingly disrupting essential services. So there's severe risk to user safety and data. And of course, in our case, there's severe risk to the care of the service users within a care provider setting. So the need for the resilience and rapid response is essential. So we must take proactive strategies to protect our services and care providers and the vulnerable individuals that we support, of course. So we're going to look at the situation, what we're doing. So one morning, a few staff in your organization report the computers and tablets are locked with a single image, a ransom note demanding payment in Bitcoin, digital care records, scheduling, payroll, and even some emails are slowly becoming inaccessible. So you need to recite how to respond. So imagine you open your laptop and this comes up. Your files have been encrypted. To recover your files, please send £2,500 worth of Bitcoin to the following address. Don't worry, that Bitcoin address is not real, it's fake, we made it up. So do not send me £2,500 through that Bitcoin address, please. So first round, immediate actions. So Clay, if we can launch the first poll for everyone to get involved. So our ransomware has started to lock vital care records and scheduling software. Account on demands payment in Bitcoin. What do you do first? So if you can use the poll to choose your answer. So we're going to run through them. Option A, you decide to reluctantly pay the ransom. So your insurance policy has a clause that will cover this cost. You discover a ransom negotiation service that can handle direct communication with the criminals and get the best possible outcome. Option B, you ignore it. You know, it might be fake. A colleague used to recalls that they saw a virus scare that turned out to be fake. So you decide to carry out as normal, nothing's happening. Meanwhile, staff temporarily switch to paper records until everything comes back online. Option C, DIY fixes. So you use free online tools, you research how to best manage this situation. An example, your daughter who studied computing, points out to free decryption tools online. Option D, you call your IT supplier and isolate affected systems. So you contact your IT supplier or a local specialist cyber company. They recommend disconnecting affected machines to contain the threat. Staff revert to manual processes while experts investigate thoroughly. So, of course, we might think about insurance and security. Handing over the control to your insurance or to someone else to handle this might ease immediate pressure, but compromise long-term resilience if the root cause, so the backup, staff training, system hardening, remain unaddressed. This is what we're talking about option A. Obviously, reporting obligations, paying this ransomware does not negate the potential need to notify regulators, so like ICO, CQC, etc., if personal data is exposed. And if we think about how would we prepare for something like this, a robust offline backup and sound business continuity plan would reduce reliance on decision-making under immense pressure. So I'm going to give it another minute for everyone. I know most people have responded, so let's see what we come up with. Okay, so if we can end the poll and share the results. All right, so 96% of you have chosen option D, which is great, and 4% option A. Okay, so let's look at the different options and break it down. Let's see. Okay, thank you, Claire. We can stop sharing. Thank you. Oh, there we go. So option A, we decide to reluctantly pay the ransom. So if we look at this situation, the ransom is eventually paid, the cyber gang deliver a functional decryption key, and the system recovers, significantly reducing downtime. So obviously the time that you spend on this is completely reduced. However, just days after the criminals claim that they have stolen personal resident records, they demand a second payment for non-disclosure. Additionally, the cyber gang used the funds to upgrade their ransomware, later striking at a major hospital. As in the 2020 German hospital attack, patients are turned away and lives are put at risk, all because of the cyber gang strengthening the ransomware using the money that you paid. So these would be like a situation that could happen, right, if we decide to pay the ransom. The benefits of this will be obviously professional negotiators, so you hand it over to someone that know how to handle this situation, and you're not alone on this. You reduce immediate stress, so outsourcing the crisis lets you focus on care. You have quick recovery, so your systems are back online really quickly. The negatives of this is there's no guarantee that this is not going to happen again. The attackers could provide a faulty decryption key, and then they could demand more money later on. This could happen again, of course. So ransomware criminals frequently are affiliated, exfiltrate, sensitive data before encrypting it. So paying to decrypt doesn't ensure that they won't leak or sell the data to someone else before they return it to you. And more on regulatory concerns, of course, paying is widely prohibited under UK guidance, and it directly funds criminal activity. So the summary of all of this is you obviously managed to find a reputable team who specialize in handling ransomware demands. They seek your permission and read lines first, but once granted, they take charge, including decisions on negotiations and ransom payments. So you effectively sidelined it, and they pursue what they deem the best course of action for your business. Of course, ransomware negotiators often have pre-existing relationships with various criminal gangs and nation states, known as the language, and techniques for as optimum as possible outcomes if paying. So what we're trying to see here is that if you pay the ransomware attack fee, this does not guarantee that, one, your data is going to be returned, and two, this is not going to happen again. You're also going to be seen as a target, as a vulnerable target for potential other criminals. So you could be targeted again because they know you're going to pay that ransomware attack. Option B, ignore it. Of course, we don't want you to do that. Don't be an ostrich. Don't bury your head under the sand. You would avoid immediate panic and overreaction, of course. Staff will continue working. No immediate financial commitment because you're not paying anything, you're ignoring it. But obviously the negative, you continue encryption, you don't have your data back. By the time you decide to act, it's going to be quite late, and this will have evolved into something much more serious. And the data theft, so attackers could exfiltrate records undetected while you do nothing. So in this situation, you would downplay the ransom note and temporarily rely on paper backups, seeing it as a short-term fix until your digital systems recover through an automated update patch. But this does not address the underlying infection, allowing the ransomware to keep encrypted data behind the scenes, so they will keep your data forever. Option C, so you try to find your own way to fix this situation. Of course, we love a thinker. I love a thinker as well. But there's a right time and a place for this. Obviously, during a crisis, it is not, it's best to handle it to the professionals. So you could have potential cost savings with this. Some older ransomware variants do have free the encryptors. You would take immediate action. So staff see you trying to fix the problem promptly. But if it's a new or a custom ransomware, free tools might fail or corrupt files. If you are not an expert, you don't really know what you're doing, you're wasting time, really. So the longer you experiment, the more time criminals have to exfiltrate or delete data, and not expert oversight, as we said. So you miss on deeper breaches or exfiltration attempts. So in summary, after hearing about free decryption tools from your daughter, in this case, in this situation, you try to fix it yourself. This might work for older ransomware, but without expert oversight, you risk corrupting data, and the attackers might be watching. If they detect interferences, they could retaliate by stealing more data, raising demands, or launching a second attack. So you could spend hours testing the cryptos and manual recovering, all of this. But at the end of the day, I think that the logical way to go about this will be to hand it over to someone that knows what they're doing in a crisis and save as much time as possible in this situation. Option D, which will be the most correct answer in this scenario, the benefits of calling your IT supplier and isolating affected systems. Obviously, it limits the spread, so you quarantine the infected devices, prevent further encryption. Your professional approach, so there's experts involved that handle the containment, the forensics, and possible data recovery, and the confidence, so you can feel confident that, and your staff can feel reassured that there is a plan and it's being followed throughout. The negatives, of course, there's a short-term disruption. Infected systems go offline, potentially delaying routines and tasks. There is a cost, so emergency IT rates or incident response can be pricey, especially if you don't have an IT supplier already that can handle this. No instant decryption, so if backups aren't quick to restore, you still face downtime. The summary of this is realizing that you're a little out of your depth if you're not an expert on this. You contact your IT supplier, and or if you don't have one, a local cyber specialist company. It will cost money, but in this case, time is critical. Following the clear instructions, you immediately disconnect compromised devices from the network while they get to work. So in this situation, the specialists quarantine the networks, as we said, to protect the backups. They find evidence the cyber gang attempted to steal sensitive data, but only manage partial files before being stopped. While some offline fallback processes are needed, you avoid paying the ransom, rebuild from backups, and stop the attack's leverage. So one of the very important things to keep in mind here is like having a business continuity plan that already states what to do will save you so much time. You could have a list of 1, 2, or even 3 organizations that either you already have a relationship with as your IT suppliers, or that you might be able to contact in case something like this happens. Oh, apologies. There we go. So most cyber specialist companies, so for example, the Cyber Resilience Center will have a regional professional partner list. We'll talk you through what ifs and what they can offer you if the worst happens, of course. They might even offer you a free advice, partially because they'll hope it'll lead to a future business relationship, but also because as cyber geeks, they love to share their knowledge. So don't hesitate to have a list of resources and people you can reach out to when something like this happens. Great. We're going to go on round 2. So that has happened. You have dealt with it. Now, how do you communicate the incident? So Claire, if you can pull the second poll up, please. So it's day 1. Staff see that the screen's locked. Families wonder why calls aren't being returned. Pick one option. Option A, ChatGPT drafted memo. So we've introduced a little bit of AI now because everyone seems to be using it, especially in this sector. So under pressure to release an immediate statement, you need something quickly, so you go to ChatGPT to create a drafted memo. Option B, no official statement required. You just keep ostrich mode, and there's no need to, to cause panic. So it's better to wait once there's more certainty before saying anything. You trust your staff to quickly adapt until the problem resolves. Option C, you process failure. So you suspect someone ignored protocols or clicked malicious link. So you issue a comms labeling it as process failure. So you basically blame the staff. Option D, you're cautiously transparent. So you explain the ransomware impact to stakeholders, but hold back on the technical and sensitive details until you know more and the investigation is concluded. A cyber specialist confirms personal data was stolen, so the 72 hours ICU requirement is a must. However, you don't have all the requirement information, so you sell what you have and hope it's enough. So, how are we doing if we can, I'll give it another minute for everyone to vote on what they would do. I think most people have. And of course, we're doing this in a very safe setting. But when it comes to a crisis and when something like this happens and you know, systems are not working and you know that people are not able to deliver care, you're put in a very, very strange situation and you will have to think on the spot. This is why it's so important to have a business continuity plan. And I will say it again and again, just to have a plan on like what to do. So you stop the panic and not make rash decisions, but go back to what has been written for you to do. Okay, so let's share the results. Nice, thank you, Claire. So, okay, 88% option D, 8% option B, so no official statement required, and 4% option A, ChatGPT drafted memo. Let's have a look. So on option A, ChatGPT, you decide you need something quick and rapid, so you decide to draft a memo to put out in your comms. Obviously, so you send a memo, verbatim as it sounds, right, and it looks comprehensive. Although you've communicated, most people remain in the dark about the ransomware. I'll go into why in a second. Concerned staff suspect a massive breach because of the intense jargon. Families receive no clarity on whether personal data is safe, prompting anxious calls and further speculation. So what are the benefits of choosing to do this? You deliver something quickly, which is great. You save time without spending hours writing it yourself. It might impress the handful of IT savvy staff who understand the terms. But then on the other hand, non-technical staff, which I'm assuming in the care setting will be most staff, and families are left confused and unsure what has happened. The overall message sounds alarming, but doesn't offer simple next steps of reassurance. Staff gossip, rumors spread, and there's no clarity on it. Under pressure to release an official update, of course, you would use GPT to draft it, but you forget to specify that your audience is largely non-technical. So ChatGPT produces a very technical heavy explanation. So this is just something that could happen, of course. I just have an example that our cyber technical lead has created for these slides. So if we look at this memo example, if you start reading that, as of yesterday, our facility detected a malicious infiltration exploiting the Crypto 3.0 to compromise the network's symmetric encryption protocols. Already that sentence is a mouthful. The adversaries leverage a partial initialization vector mismatch in our AES 256 framework. You can read the whole thing, but as you can see, this memo might be useful to someone like Nick or someone really technical, but otherwise it's quite useless at communicating with families, with staffs. It's quite technical in terms of the wording that it's using, so it's not very car staff friendly in a way. So it could be a good idea to use ChatGPT as a basic to create a draft memo, but you have to be very specific with ChatGPT and AI. And I'm not going to get too much into it, but this could be something that could happen, and then you release this, and then no one really understands anything. So next option, option B, no official statement is requirement. Keep being an ostrich. Bury your head in the sand. We wouldn't recommend doing this, of course, because well, obviously stakeholders and possibly media outlets guess something's wrong, but there's no information from your side. So this leads to misinformation, confusion. If personal data has actually been compromised, failure to notify the ICO in a timely manner might lead to financial consequences and fines for your business. People feel management is concealing the truth, undermining credibility, and once the incident inevitably surfaces, apologies. So this might seem like a good way to continue as nothing's happened. But then in reality, communication is so important and transparency is so important for a business. You can, the days could pass with no official word. This will fuel confusion, speculation. Families might overhear something from the staff or the system meltdown. The stress rises. If some of the phones are still not working, they won't understand anything. So in short, we would not recommend this option. Option C, so this has all been a process failure, so you decide to blame the staff. So obviously there's an immediate explanation for this, which is a positive. You declare it as a process failure. Management appears to have identified the root cause, and you emphasize on the responsibility. So staff realize there are rules for a reason, and breaking them has real consequences. Breaking them or making mistakes. The negatives of this, of course, is that there's fear and secrecy. So staff might become reluctant to admit other mistakes or near misses, and for the fear of blame. There's no real solutions if you just blame the staff. You're focusing on a vague process failure, and it doesn't strengthen the procedure or the training of your staff. But this also damages the morale, so people feel singled out or untrusted, potentially leading to turnover or simmering resentment. So blaming others will not solve the problem and will end up affecting your staff negatively. Of course, staff may make mistakes, we all do, but that is not the root cause of this. And this approach can result in resentment, toxic environments, and even staff leaving the jobs. And our last option, so cautiously transparent, these will be our favorite option. So obviously, regulatory compliance, by notifying the ICO, you promptly or even partially with the information that you have, you remain compliant. So you avoid fines and financial costs in that way. Honest communication, so staff, families, and regulators see that you're prioritizing transparency and data welfare. Maintain trust, so you're open and you can be calm and stop speculation and demonstrate genuine consent for potential data misuse. So this will create more trust as well on your staffs because they will see that you are being transparent and you're being a reliable leader. The negatives of this, there's always negatives to everything. It's a complex investigation, so gathering enough evidence and the tight deadlines is stressful, especially when restoring systems, and it might take a little bit of time. Ongoing updates, so you will need to provide more information as soon as it's available, and this will be time consuming and it will take a lot of your energy. But by notifying the ICO within 72 hours, even partial details, as we said, with what you have, you remain compliant. Though initial uncertainty might cause a little bit of concern, proactive communication prevents speculation, as we mentioned, and it keeps you are in control of the narrative of what has happened. Providing updates as more facts emerge, balance caution with responsibility, ultimately preserving credibility and trust. So from an ICO perspective, I guess you might ask, what if we don't have all the required information available? So the UK GDPR recognizes that it will not always be possible for to investigate a breach fully within 72 hours and to understand exactly what has happened, or what can be done to mitigate it. So I believe it's Article 333, Section 4, allows you to provide the required information in phases. So as long as this is done without undue further delay, you'll still avoid any fines and you'll still be compliant. So that's sort of like just to clarify on the ICO and providing data and providing information to the ICO. So in this situation, how would this be resolved? How would this story continue? You promptly inform the ICO that the personal data was taken. You lack full clarity. The partial disclosure meets initial obligations, as we mentioned. You reassure staff and families, promising further updates once you have more facts. And over the next week, as your investigation unfolds, you submit follow-up details fulfilling UK GDPR requirements while retaining internal and external trust. And then our last round, so our lessons learned. what long-term steps will you take? So the crisis is mostly over, data is restored or lost, depending on what has happened. Time for the bigger picture, so building resilience for the future. We have different options. Claire, if we can launch the last poll. Thank you. Option A, declare the incidents as a one-off fluke and move on. So you're short on time, resources, you don't really have time for all this anymore, and see no immediate crisis. So staff are relieved. The ransomware attack is fixed, the ransomware is fixed, so no deeper investigation is necessary. Option B, identify whoever first triggered the malware and fire them. So all staff has signed the cyber training. So you believe personal accountability is key. So staff must learn harsh consequences, quick public resolution to show management acted decisively. Option C, you purchase advanced heuristic anti-malware firewalls and AI-based link scanning threat detection. You have budget, it has been approved for these technological upgrades, and modern solutions will handle future attacks automatically. Option D, conduct a structured debrief, gather lessons, and refine your business continuity plan and procedures. You recognize the incident exposed gaps in policies, training, or backups. You want a learning culture, not a blame culture, to ensure better resilience next time. So there are different options that we could take. Let's give it another minute. I like what I'm seeing so far. Wait a bit longer. Okay, so we share the results. We got, okay, 90% chose option D. So following, continuing with the narrative of the business continuity plan, gathering lessons, conduct a structured debrief of what has happened. And 10% have chosen option C, so purchase advanced tech to prevent this in the future. So let's have a look at the options. Okay, so option A, declare the incident as a one-off fluke and move on. So won't spend too much on this. Of course, there's no debrief sessions, no new policies, no additional training. People are glad that it's over and you just move on. You obviously hope ignoring it will keep daily operations calm and business as usual. But you're effectively bearing the problem. You're not really tackling the problem and the root cause of what has happened. So you leave your organization exposed to future problems and future attacks. The vulnerabilities, nothing changes. So future breaches are likely, as mentioned. No institutional memory. So the lessons learned from this incident have not been captured. So we can repeat mistakes, yourself and the staff. In this situation, 3 months later, a new ransomware variant hits. The realization that no one learned anything hits hard. No updated processes, no improved backups. The cycle repeats. The systems are down again. So we go back to square one. I'm so glad no one picked that. Option B, identify whoever first triggered the malware and fire them. So again, we talked about culture blame culture apologies. So the culture of fear, staff hide errors and near misses to avoid the blame. There's no real solutions. Punishment alone does not improve training or fix systems. And I think everyone knows that. Immediate explanation. So obviously you will have an explanation and a resolution for stakeholders, and they will probably appreciate that you found the root cause of this. Strong deterrent. Some staff will think twice before ignoring security protocols or before doing something they're not sure of. But of course, if we look at this specific situation, sometime later, a senior staff member accidentally forgets to report a suspicious email because, again, we're human, we make mistakes. And their anxiety is so overwhelming that they quit on the spot. Slowly, at first, more experienced staff follow. Eventually, your strict stance on mistakes leaves you struggling to stay afloat as you grapple with high turnover and an experienced workforce. Because this is quite an extreme situation, an extreme, something extreme that could happen, but it could happen. And this is why we don't recommend this option, and I'm very glad no one picked it. Option C, you purchase advanced tech and anti-malware firewalls, AI-based links, everything, which is great in a way of it's really good to invest in technology and advance your business if you have the budget for it, but it's not everything. So there is the human, as we said, we're human, we make mistakes. So the human weakness remains. Social engineering, phone calls, impersonation, phishing can bypass even the best tech. So all the good tech that we implement, all the criminals, they're also looking at this tech and implementing it in their own way. There is a false sense of security. So you throw money at new tech, but there's not really a resolution with it, and it rarely yields a good return on investment. The good things of this, of course, is it reduces the routine threats. So many phishing or malware attempts might be filtered out potentially, and it shows commitment. So stakeholders, your board, will be happy that your organization learns quickly and plans decisively and implements these changes. In this situation, we imagine we continue down this path. A scammer phones reception claiming to be a Microsoft tech support, convincing the people-pleasing staff member to helpfully install TeamViewer to update the system. The new hardware is useless against human nature. Attackers can bypass it entirely. So as we said, it's not just about the tech you implement. There's also a lot more things to take into account. There's how you respond to an attack, how your staff will be trained, how your staff will respond. Are they aware of your policies and your procedures? So it's not just the tech that you implement. Option D, conduct a structured debrief, gather lessons, and refine your business continuity plan and procedures. So this is a holistic improvement. So it could strengthen your technology from your lessons learned. If you decide that you need new tech and improve that, it could improve your processes. So if you didn't have a business continuity plan and you implement one, this is the document that you'll refer back to if something like this happens again. And it also strengthens people. So it improves people's lives in that environment. So they will be more reassured of what to do if this happens again. They will look back and look at the lessons that they have learned, what mistakes have been made, so that doesn't happen again. Openness and trust. So as we said, it encourages staff to report concerns early. There's no blame culture, there's no fear culture. You enhance threat detection from your staff. So if they see something suspicious, they will report it if you're open and transparent. And peace of mind. So of course, a stronger business continuity plans means fewer attacks, vectors, and greater resilience. There's some negatives, so it takes time and effort. So writing your policies, your procedures, revisiting your policies and your business continuity planning if you had one and it failed. It takes time. Debriefs, lessons learned, delivering training and our required resources. All of these will take some time, but in the long term, it will be more beneficial. There might be initial discomfort, so testing business continuity plans can break the flow of daily operation workings, and there might be some discomfort in looking at what has gone wrong and recognizing that things have gone wrong and we have made mistakes. In this situation, a few months later, a staff member receives an email in the personal inbox claiming that their very private photos will be leaked unless they pay. Recognizing the tactic from the recent training, they immediately report it to Action Fraud. The police swiftly isolate the threat and locate the culprit, preventing others from falling victim to the same anxiety-inducing scam. Your commitment to continuous learning and an open culture has strengthened both staff resilience and your organization security. So, in summary, we've looked at all our 3 scenarios from this ransomware attack simulation. Preparation is key. So, preparation of a panic. As we mentioned, of course, business continuity plans. What would you do if this happens? Do you have already a procedure if something like this happens? Do you have it written down? Do you have your contacts of who you reach out to if something like this occurs in your business? So testing, not just having this, but also testing your business continuity plan is really important, because you might have it and then you might forget about it. Staff might not really look at it, but actually if you test it regularly or from time to time, then you will remember what to do. Honest communication. So obviously silence causes mistrust. As we looked at these scenarios, more clarity fosters unity. So people will find you more trustworthy, and they'll more easily reach out to you if something bad happens, if you're open and communicate openly and not hide things from them. Balance tech and culture. So we looked at the improving the tech, but also implementing your training for your staff and like your policies and procedures. So fancy software won't solve everything. If staff are afraid to speak or poorly trained, if they don't have the training or they don't know what to do. As we said, we make mistakes, we're human, so we need to do both. Learn and improve. So even a bad incident can lead to better policies and a stronger team if you do a proper review. So reviewing what has happened, learn from it, and implement changes. Of course, in a perfect world, we'll never face an ransomware attack. But in a perfect world, I would have unlimited zero-calorie biscuits, and that does not happen. Since reality doesn't quite match up, you have to be prepared. This is the reality that we live in, unfortunately. So the person that created these scenarios is not me. Our cyber specialist used to be a hacker. So the writer of these scenarios started out on the dark side as a black hat hacker, and later they switched sides using their knowledge and outside the box thinking to get their first proper cyber job. So what I'm trying to say with this is it could be anyone. Lots of people have knowledge on these things. You don't have to panic if something in a crisis happens. It would only lead to more panic. Panic leads to more panic. Seek support from specialists, from people that you can trust, and those cyber specialists that can help you. And stay curious. So keep asking, could this go wrong? Could something go wrong? Do my staff really know what to do if a fishy email or something wrong happens? Like, just keep asking questions and keep improving. So thank you so much for being part of this session. And I'm just going to have, perfect, we've got just over 10 minutes left. I'm going to see if we have any questions. Nick, I will invite you to come as well in case there's any questions.
Yeah, no problem. I've been keeping an eye out and answering a few.
Oh, okay, great, brilliant.
Would you be able to maybe answer the question about what would your first starting point be to implement your incident response plan?
Sorry, yes, it would be. So if things started to fall over, you would get your incident response plan out and then start working through that.
So that might also be referred to as a like a contingency plan or something else, but it's basically your plan of action in case of some kind of incident. So it could be to do with cyber, it could be any other incident within your organisation, but this needs to be part of that document so you know how to respond.
Great, thank you very much.
I think all the others were answered by Nick already. Thank you.
Fantastic. Are there any other questions that you can pop in the Q&A? I've just launched a short feedback just to, as I said, this project is a little bit of, it's a short project, it's a pilot project, so we are testing how these webinars go. I just really want your feedback and know how to improve them really going forward. So you can just take like 30 seconds to respond to those 3 quick questions. And if there's any other questions, we've still got 10 minutes to answer them. Why? I don't think
we do have a raised hand from Chris Marta.
Chris, would you like to you have a question? Would you like to oh, I can I'll invite you to speak. Hi Chris, I think you can unmute yourself.
Yeah. Hi Maud. Hi Nick. I did a webinar this morning with the East Cyber Resilience Centre as well. What I found interesting was, and thank you very much for doing this and running this through and coming back to the point that Claire made. When I've had cyber attacks, the first thing, you're quite right, Claire, is I've gone back to is that as the chief executive, I have instigated the full business continuity plan. Now, whether that was for as Nick said, whether you're having a fire drill or an incident, or whether you're doing a cyber attack, you then have that decision from senior management, and then it follows through, Mort. And I was pleased to see that all the steps that you said. I think the important thing from my perspective and looking at it is that to set out the terms in terms of having the policies and procedures in place. And I think the second step, and this seems to be coming out more and more, and it happened with British Airways where they were hacked and their backup system was on the same floor as their main system. So when they went to switch over to the backup system, they couldn't do it. And I think the issue is about having that structure in place, and I think taking the time. So I think it leads it through. But the point I wanted to make was that what was missing from your questions is, would you then go and have a switch off and go back to immediately continuing with operations because you've got your data stored off site as well? Does that make sense? I'd be grateful for your views, Marta and Nick, on that point.
Oh, so you mean potentially go to paper records and continuing?
No, just switch your systems over.
Oh, I see.
You're using a grandfather, father, son backup system, so your systems are already backed up every night. Now, whether that's through having a USB in a different computer, but all your records in a care home, you've already got them backed up in that individual care home on a different system. And I think that's what I'm trying to understand, how you would work that through, Marta.
First thing is, it depends on how you're set up. Obviously, depending on how you're backed up, depends on how you actually implement. Every company will be different. Every backup is different, and it's if you can actually recover a backup that hasn't actually been infected, and at the point realizing where you can get your backup from. Obviously, it's something that we cannot give guidance on, as it's not something that we can actually comment on with, due to the fact that so many systems are different. But obviously, if you've got the backup and it's clean, then it would be implemented as soon as you know it is safe to do so, and the affected computers are isolated.
Yeah, thanks, Nick.
Yeah, so in that case, you would be able to continue business as usual in a way if you have that backup and it's clean. However, it does not resolve the problem of the ransomware attack for your other system. So you would still have to follow the sort of procedure of reporting it, of getting experts to deal with it, because that data is your service users data as well that's been stolen. So even if you have a backup of the data, that data has been stolen, it still has to be reported and it still has to be dealt with. So of course, the part of the business that the continuation, it can continue, but then there's still the problem of the attack.
And it also depends how the vector of the attack came in. If you're thinking if it was a vulnerability that it came in, then you go to a backup, the vulnerability is still there. So again, there are so many different things that could influence your thoughts on, do I revert to a backup? How did the attack happen? To whether you should implement, going to your backup.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you very much, Chris, for that. Any other questions? We have 5 more minutes. No more questions. Thank you very much for doing the poll. I'm very glad most of the you would recommend this webinar to a colleague, which is great. And most of the rating is pretty positive. So I'm very, very happy to see that. and we will make, of course, improvements to continue this in the future. Okay, well, if there's no more questions, thank you very much, everyone, for attending this. It has been great to have you here. You will receive the slides and the recording over email. I will add we're launching that cyber game for social care on Tuesday. We're doing a webinar for that, so I will add the link on the post-webinar email. I believe the email will be sent either via Eventbrite, either after this or tomorrow. So wait for that. And if not, you can always contact us at Digital Care Hub, hello@digitalcarehub.co.uk. So thank you so much and have a good rest of your day.